everyone, and welcome to this edition of Cyber Street Talk. I'm Linda Zecker, and with me today is my co-host, Catherine Mahalik. So, hi, Catherine, how are you?
Good morning.
So, it's been really interesting in the news, all the things that have been happening with Anthropic. I mean, that's been fascinating. I think they're having all these great discussions with the Department of Defense. Oh, wait, sorry, Department of War. And there's been a lot of back and forth about the concerns that Anthropic has in regards to surveillance. That's one of their major concerns is surveillance on citizens. And, obviously the Department of War has been very concerned about that. And there have been threats to take them out of all government. And I think even the president made a threat that Anthropic was going to be removed from all government and put on a, no can use list.
Right.
The interesting
Hmm.
thing about that is right now with what's going on with Iran and the tools that are being used right now and I think there's a tool or a system that's like let me see if I get this right, the Maven Smart System.
Yeah, Maven.
The Maven Smart System, a big part of that has God embedded in everything that they do. So it's not necessarily going to be easy to remove them, but more importantly, I appreciate what they're doing about the surveillance side, and they don't want to be a part of that. And coincidentally, we wrote a second book in our series called Trust Protocol that deals with this, and it's called Insider Threat. And it's almost like we were getting the pre-reads on the news of the day when we wrote this book. And that was not the case. But what we tried to do was talk about all the potential things that can happen with the use of AI. Not that it's a bad tool, but just some of the potential bad things and lack of privacy and the surveillance that can occur because of this tool. We put it in fiction so that people could better understand what could happen to them. So it's out there right now, currently in Kindle, just like the first in the series, Stolen Trust is. And then the paperback for Insider Threat will be out, I think, at the end of this month.
Yeah, I'm so excited again to that I'd like to think we are ahead of our time, Linda. Um, but yeah, I mean, these, and we are not necessarily passing judgment on these things. Let's be clear about that. But what we are and what we stress in the book is choice and awareness,
Right,
which is one of the main reasons why we chose that um, fictionalized environment, because storytelling is the number one way for people to um, consume, understand, and put themselves into someone else's situation. So we're very measured in what we choose to select to write about. These
right.
are great stories and we love making them. And you in particular you come up with some really good ideas, but it's the fictionalization of all of these things. So we just want people to be aware and to understand.
Right. And
And
citizen awareness has really picked up. I mean, look at what's happening right now with ChatGPT. They've had 2.5 million users declare that they are going to boycott ChatGPT. That's huge. And I think they've seen like a 295% day over day increase in people
yeah,
that are uninstalling the app. And on top of that, you see that Claude is now the number one app in the App Store, Apple App Store.
right.
So what that tells you is that people are becoming more aware of what's happening and they're becoming more and more concerned about how this is going to impact their personal privacy and just the ability for the government to have surveillance and how these tools are being used potentially by the IRS and others is really, really scary.
And your cybersecurity. Think about all of your data, right?
Right,
There are data brokers
right,
who I mean, this is an industry that most people just think, oh, Apple has this, somebody else
right.
has that. Remember that presentation we did
Yeah.
to one of our clients about the data brokers?
Yeah, I think I
Can
have
you,
it. Let you keep
okay, let's
talking.
see
Let
if
me
we
see
can
if I
share
can pull
that.
it up. Yeah.
And the level of industry on this, that your most average people, again, we live in the IT world, we know this. That is a 300 plus billion global industry.
Right.
There's about 5,000 companies that are globally that collect all of this data. That's a lot of your data, right? That's
Right.
out there. And every single one of them have been breached, sometimes multiple times. Sometimes, this is a great slide here that talks about
Right.
the number of breaches and a little bit of a summary of just how big, how many data points. Look at that, 1,500 data points
Right.
per person. That's
Right.
incredible.
It,
And
it, it is incredible, and it's very scary. And it really tells you that even though you think that you've locked down your systems and you think you have privacy, you don't. And one of the things that I've been thinking about a lot, and I know you have too, like my grandchildren on days that they have bad weather and so forth now have virtual learning. All of those systems are coming into my son's home network. Now, he's in this business, so he understands and he has everything within his home networks and everything locked down. But now their computers are coming in. That's a vulnerability where people are collecting data on those children and collecting data that's going across his network potentially.
right, and that also that access in and out of people's network is also another place where you really need to make sure. Remember how we talk about with businesses, know who your third party vendors are?
Correct?
So all of these things, it's quite the burden that we put on individuals to be able to manage all of this, let alone
Right.
be aware, let alone manage, I guess is the right way to say
And
it.
the scariest part, which I find just unbelievable since we do have a constitution, there's no warrant required by the government to access this data or use this data. They can, you can, it used to be if you were going to do a surveillance on someone's phone, you had to have a FISA warrant and things like that. They have now found, you still have to have that in some cases, but they've found a lot of ways to get around that due to data collection through these outside vendors.
Yeah, is there, don't, we had a slide on that. Remember it was like,
I think we do.
oh,
Breach
look at the
history, was it
government.
the
No,
breach
the
history?
government surveillance.
Yeah, there it
Look at
is.
that one.
Yeah,
Yeah, 7 out of 10 of the top brokers have sold
right,
to many agencies. Um, and it's the lack of warrants that people, so again, everybody gets to make their own judgments.
right,
I have mine, you have yours. Sometimes we agree, sometimes we disagree on some of these things. Everybody has.
right.
It's the awareness. And that's why we're writing these books as part of the trust protocol to make sure that people can put the picture in their mind of things that they need to think about and make those choices, like we
Right,
talked about in stolen
right,
trust.
right. Let me just go back to not sharing. The whole thing is fascinating, and healthcare is another place where I think that there is just a lot of risk, tremendous amount of risk, and not just on collecting your personal data, but I read something the other day that I found really fascinating, that when hospitals are collecting like your heart rate, your diabetes, or whatever your case may be, or your illnesses, and they are collecting it now from multiple hospitals. They can now take all of that data and they can do regional assessments of where you have people that have this issue or where you have people that have that issue. And based on that, they can target products and they can sell that data. And so you can be targeted certain products. You can be targeted for all kinds of things that I don't necessarily want someone to know what my health history is, and I don't want to see an ad pop up on Instagram based on whether I'm, fat or thin or this or that. I don't want people to know
Yeah.
that. And it's just
And
amazing to me that we are so oblivious to what's going on.
right. And I think there's a statement that you'll hear people say, it says power, if held by the right people for the right reasons, can be trusted absolutely, right? That is what we typically, up to this point in our history as a country, we've held a lot of trust with
Right,
each other and with our systems and all the rest of that. And that is eroding for good and bad
right,
reasons. And so I think, again, making the awareness, I keep repeating that over and over again. Know as best you can what's happening.
Well,
And
insider threat. I mean, what insider threat really focuses on, different than stolen trust. Insider threat is when the system evolves even more, and the government then has control of that system, control of that data, and the system starts turning against the people that designed it. It
Right.
starts being able to think for itself. And if you think that is far away in the future, it happens today.
That's
It's
today.
happening today. The systems can think for themselves, and it's not going to be long before that can become a standard of all of these AI tools. It's moving faster than we can ever think, we've ever thought about.
Yeah.
And so that's what we try to identify in the book. And I think it's a fascinating read. I actually like it better than the first book, but I think it's a fascinating read. And I think it's a thoughtful kind of synopsis of what could be in the future and what could be happening today.
What's happening today.
Yeah.
And there's one line that we put in the forward. I think this is the one you came up with. I remember you talking about this, that you really liked this line. And it was the frontier of cybersecurity isn't technical, it's human.
Yeah.
And what we talk about today, all of your data, all of the access in and out of your network, all of the
Right.
things that we're doing, all of the conveniences, all of the efficiencies. In the end, it's really the human factor that's going to help
Yeah.
manage it, correct it, keep it in line. So and I think I don't know how we're getting close on time. And one thing I wanted to say is, as part of that, when you hear now people talk about what do I send my kid to school for, and how do I, what should they study? Before it was the technical, and now you hear people talking about liberal arts, critical thinking, history. And that's because the frontier of cybersecurity is not technical. It's now becoming human.
Right.
And all of these things are playing into this big swirling chaos, exciting times that we're all in the middle of.
Right. Well, I do hope that everyone will, give some serious consideration to picking up the book, and you can read it on Kindle today, and or if within the month you'll be able to get it on paperback. But it's called Insider Threat, and it's part of the Trust Protocol series. There is a third book. It's currently in editing, so it will take a little while before it comes out. But we're really excited about this, and we think we've hit a point in time that's just perfect for these books. And we also think that it might strike a nerve with some people. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to keep that conversation at the top of mind, and that's important. And so hopefully you'll all agree when you read the books.
Great.
So thank you everyone for joining us today. It's been great, and we look forward to the next edition of Cyber Straight Talk. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Catherine. Bye-bye.
Thank you.